Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Woolcast. What a day it is to be a Red after that magnificent 4-0 demolition job of Arsenal yesterday. Transfers breaking all over the place today. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and we are four very happy gentlemen. Joining me this week, I'm delighted to have Phil, Jonathan, and the moany ass bastard that is Dan.
Thanks for having me again, boys.
Welcome, Dan. You're very welcome. Even you aren't going to be able to be moaning on this. This is going to be a celebration of football, mate. This is going to be a celebration of everything that's good about the world. This is going to be a podgasm. That's what we're going for here.
I feel like it just flashed into my head, but I feel like Sven Eriksson when I think they were on a pre-season tour in Thailand or something like that at the time, and he was City manager, and he was sat at the pool at 10 o'clock in the morning with a bottle of champers, and Didi Hamann of all people came down to him and said, "What are you doing? What are you celebrating?" Celebrating life, Didi. That's what we all are at the moment, isn't it?
It's good to be alive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I must say that we must thank our sponsors again as usual: Pain Solutions, lim.co.uk and armortalent.com. They've been really supportive of us all the way, and we really appreciate it, guys. Actually, Pain Solutions, if you're around, if you're going to Soccer Expo this week in Manchester, keep an eye out for them. They'll be there. Tell Tim we said hello. Go up and introduce yourself. Tim will talk you through anything you want to know. He's a good lad. Lads, let's get straight into the beautifulness that is Liverpool FC at the minute. And Jonathan, I'm going to come to you with the opening question first this week. And lads, what I want to know from the three of you is, what's the worst thing you've ever said that as soon as the words left your mouth, you immediately regretted saying them? Jonathan.
So
you're a nice Jonathan, so this must be tough for you because you're genuinely a nice human being.
I take that as a compliment because you're a cunt.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. We are what we are.
See how I twisted that around there straight away.
But you were just being truthful again.
Oh God, there's been so many. Trying to think of one that's suitable for the airwaves.
You've just said the word cunt, and you're worried about what you're going to say on the airwaves.
Well, I'm describing you, so that doesn't matter. Walking down a busy street. It's a summer's day. Place is thronged, nice and sunny, so everybody wears less and less clothing. Beautiful doll walks down in front of me, and I'm in my head I go, Jesus, that's a cracking pair of tits. But my head and my mouth kind of got their signals mixed up, and I said it out loud. And
now she's your wife.
I wish. Yeah, it's one of those kind of swallow the ground moments where you're like trying to turn around to see if there's anyone else you can blame, but no, here's me with scarlet cheeks. There's not much really you can do in the situation. I was take it as a compliment, love. Hey,
what did she do?
You misogynistic bastard.
Got a couple of dirty looks, and then I kind of sprinted off in the other direction.
So hang on, whoa. So you're walking behind this girl, you say, "What a cracking pair of tits," and then you turn around and leg it in the opposite direction.
After she turns around and I get the devils, yes.
Did you kick her or pinch her first by any chance? Or?
No, I
her over.
I had enough damage done, so I best take a run for it. Yeah, one of those kind of. What does it say? Us men only have enough blood for one brain and all that.
Oh yeah.
Dan.
So you had to run away with a bud?
Dan,
yes.
You being a fellow cunt, I'm going to come to you next.
Fair. Mine's actually quite mild because it's the regret part that I struggle with.
Does it involve being drunk, your legs on a kebab?
It involves being drunk.
Shocker! That really surprises me.
And this is just the latest one. I was at my staff Christmas do, and one of my colleagues had been on maternity leave, and I was just shit faced drunk by this point, and I walked up to her, said hello as normal as you do, and I said, "Oh, so when's the baby due?" And she said, "Oh, I had it 2 weeks ago." And that was kind of the moment of, "Oh, fuck it."
Could have been worse. She could have said, "I'm not pregnant." To be fair,
yeah,
because baby weight does stay on for a little bit, so.
Yeah, it's still embarrassing though. Like I said, it was pretty tame. The only other thing I regret is saying yes to tequila.
I thought you were going to say to coming on this podcast. You know what? That's very, very tame. I mean, I've done worse than that probably at family gatherings. Literally.
This week.
Well, I suppose anybody that knows me knows I've no filter. So I literally say whatever comes into my head.
And you work for TripAdvisor.
Oh, definitely. Only when I'm drunk. Don't just work for them, I run the place.
You are TripAdvisor.
Mr. TripAdvisor. Phil, don't let me down. Who do we hate this week?
Everyone. Do you know what? I was thinking of a few as well, and I had to try and be careful. I was saying this to the guys off air. I was slightly paranoid I was going to say something that was going to get me in trouble, but Jono brought up a very good example, which should kind of let you know how bad this gets and how often I do this. That this happened less than 24 hours ago, and I don't remember it. Well, I do now. He said it, but I didn't remember it. It didn't come to mind. We'd been at the game, Jono and I, and we walked back into town, and we were going to go and grab something to eat. And we saw the Five Guys burger joint, and we said, you know what? Let's go in Five Guys. Let's not come in Five Guys. Let's go in Five Guys. Just clarifying that choice of language there. So we walked in to get this burger, and on the board, sort of got like a chippy style board thing where it's got the menu behind them. So you've got fries, you've got burgers, you've got dogs, and then you got drinks. So I look at it and I said, do we want a burger or a dog? And it doesn't say hot dog, it says dogs. So stood in the queue, I turn to Jonathan and I say, fucking hell, they serve dogs. I feel like I'm back in China. And putting like directly in front of me, maybe 60 centimeters away, two Chinese people who just pretend not to hear me. I hope to God they didn't, but let's be honest, unless they're deaf.
No, there was no way they weren't hearing that.
There's no way that they didn't hear that. So I just looked at Jonathan, and his face was like trying to work out why I'd suddenly just, like, my face had a bit of a stroke. And then I kind of looked to them, and he just falls about laughing because he realizes what's happening, which made it even worse. So I've got to thank him for that, because we then spent the next 2 minutes in the queue behind them laughing at them because of what I just said. Oh, God. Yeah, so that's mine and my most recent. So that's the one I'm tabling.
That reminds me of a part of Family Guy where one of the guys says, and now we go over to our Asian reporter, Trisha Takanawa, who's going to tell us all about the rain. That's one of my favourite parts of that show. So when you said that, it instantly popped into my head. Mine is typical me. We were at a family gathering, shock. It was my wife's father's 60th birthday party. So we went for a family meal. Now, my brother-in-law had brought his new girlfriend, so it was my first time meeting her. So we were all sitting down. I think we've had our main courses, I think, at this stage, and we're sitting there waiting for the desserts or the coffees or whatever it was. And the girl that he's with pulls out chewing gum and starts chewing. So it goes on and on. She chews, she gets louder and louder. Now, I have a fucking huge problem with noise sensitivity. Like, I cannot deal with competing noises. So people talking and another noise just goes through my head like a fucking hacksaw. So the more and more this went on, I was getting more and more and more annoyed. My wife looking at me, she knows I'm getting angry, and it keeps going on and on and on. And finally I turn around to her and say, in front of the entire fucking 20 of us or so that were out for that meal, if you don't shut the fuck up chewing, I'm going to stick my fucking foot in your mouth, you stupid cunt.
Welcome to the family.
There was no coming back from that for our relationship, to be fair. Thankfully he's not with her now, so it's all good.
Well, that's a relief. Is that why, though?
No, she turned out to be a bit of a specimen, let's just say. She turned out to be not the nicest human being.
So what you're saying is your instinct was right. You're really doing your brother a favour.
They should have stood up and applauded me, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, you're always talking about family gatherings. Being Irish, just going out of the house class as a family gathering, just in a public space where there's people.
It depends. You know, we're that inbred in this country, John, or Phil, that you're only ever one step away from a relation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely a few forks in that family tree, isn't there?
There is. There's a few crossovers in there. Yeah.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. We're still devilishly charming, handsome bastards over here, though, Phil, to be fair.
Of course.
Lads, we're going to move to the football now, and I don't know where to start. I've been humming and hawing, though I start about that monumental 4-0 fucking spanking of Arsenal yesterday, or do we go straight into today's happy news? And I'm going into the happy news. And what we just posted, we put our balls on the line before we came on the podcast. Folks, we hear lots and lots of stuff. 95% of it we're never going to say because, you know, we either don't believe it or it's not right for us to put on our timeline. But this time we had a meeting, we talked about it for a couple of hours, and we said, Jonathan, let's do it. For the first time in our our podcast history. Let's do it. Let's say what we believe to be true and what we've heard before going on. And Jonathan, to the best of our knowledge, we believe, pending a medical, that Virgil van Dijk has agreed to sign for Liverpool, that the deal is agreed.
The big man is finally ours.
It wasn't an easy call. It wasn't easy for us to put out, Jonathan. No, it was. We don't do ITK stuff.
No, but look, sometimes you got to put your balls on the table.
Especially when you've got these big Irish balls like we have.
Exactly, yeah. If ever there was a signing to launch it out, here's one. Fantastic addition. The one player that I wanted all season. And looks like we finally got him, and I'm absolutely over the moon. Like, I thought after the game yesterday, I couldn't get any more made up, but this is just outdone it again.
Don't say the words made up, Jonathan, please. When we're discussing this subject, don't use the words made up.
Okay. I thought I couldn't get any more excited, any more aroused. Even aroused. Is that better for your dictionary?
Back to the muck erection.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Happy out. I hope we expect some big news tomorrow. But yeah, how good is that, and how excited does that make every Red feel to know that we finally got our number one target? Like, can you remember the last time we picked a big target from another Premiership team? We fought off City and Chelsea and probably a few others, and we just gone and got him.
Lovren.
Clavan.
Don't ruin me buzz, folks.
You gotta say though, Jonathan, about this, in my head I have to put it down to the manager as the attraction.
100%. He sold the player a vision, and
I thought you were gonna say he sold him a line, like he spun him a story. Yeah, no, we're gonna win everything we are, Virgil, come on.
Yeah, but look, I think the performance yesterday, if there was ever any doubt in the geezer's head, that performance yesterday would have made his mind up. Really, really exciting times. The team is so well drilled. We look like we're going to dominate a lot of games. And he walks straight into that team as well, and will hopefully be a commanding force at the back. And this could be our year.
Jonathan, I'm going to stand up for what I've said all summer, and Virgil van Dijk could be a fantastic signing when he comes, but he needs a fucking haircut. I've been saying it all summer, like, I'm not fucking having another ponytail showing up at our club. The man is a specimen of a footballer, absolutely brilliant, love him to bits, but come on, that fucking hair needs to be done.
He can wear pink frilly underwear for all I care if he shores up our defence.
He needs to have a chat with Emre's barber.
Is this just follicle jealousy, Craig?
Do you know what the funny thing is? This is really, really... I've explained this before to the guys. I don't know if you've heard.
If you'd listened to our pods, if you were that badly arsed,
I actually have a full head of hair. I don't have a single bald spot in my head, but I have this weird thing that I feel dirty when I have hair.
You choose to look like an egg.
Yeah, exactly. I do. I choose to look like an egg, and it's because I feel cleaner. It's weird, but it's true. In case you haven't copped on, I'm a fucking weirdo, by the way. Dan, you're going to learn that as time goes by. I have some very odd traits.
I fucking knew that after last week. Don't worry about it.
What he's actually saying is he's got a full head of ginger hair, so he just can't allow himself to grow like a ginger fro.
I have a ginger son, which you know, Phil, which I blame my wife entirely on, her being ginger. So, thank you for that.
Is that this week's target, Phil? Gingers?
Yeah, gingers and Chinese people.
To add to Americans, because you hate everybody.
Americans, Canadians, Spurs fans, Brits,
Chinese.
Yeah, the Chinese
people in general.
Oh, just humanity kind of sucks.
Dan, where do you stand on this now? You know, we've told you that what we've heard about Van Dijk, but let's just assume that the deal goes through. Where do you stand on Van Dijk arriving at the club?
I'm really happy with it. Really rate him as a centre back.
Jesus Christ! I don't think I've ever heard those words come out of your mouth.
Oh dear. No, you would have done actually.
You would have. I'm sure there was a £2 point somewhere.
Fair point. That was beyond words. That was just tears of joy.
I'm home.
And a raging fucking hand.
Just grabbing them, 2 hands around their face, kissing them on the forehead.
Yeah, and the cock.
Oh yeah.
No, really rate Van Dijk. I mean, the fee's going to be exorbitant. We're going to get our pants pulled down, but that's just the market at the minute. But yeah, happy to see him. Like, like Rich said, commanding force at centre back, and I look forward to seeing how him and Matip team up, and maybe we can finally fuck Lovren off.
Honestly, two things there. One, I don't know who the fuck Rich is. I should say that one straight out. I'm sure you just called somebody Rich.
I'm just a fuck. I told you, I'm still hungover.
Drunk is the word you're looking for. Drunk.
Shut up.
It's funny because it's true.
A big glass of vodka.
As you said, the price is going to be ridiculous, Dan. But gauging from what a couple of people are saying, and look, we've got absolutely zero information on this, but it's going to range from somewhere from 60 to 80 with the looks of things, and we can only guess at what that might be. But does it really matter at this point to us as supporters?
No, again, it's the current market, isn't it? As we were saying last week, you're gonna get your pants pulled down. So fuck it.
It's not our money. This is one of the things that really irates me when fans start kicking off like they're paying the bill. When they're like, no, it's too much for him. That's too much for him. It's like, shut the fuck up. I mean, you want the players in the team, but then you moan about the amount of money we're gonna have to spend on them. It's like it's not your money. Nobody's coming knocking on your door.
We can add Liverpool fans to his list now.
Just every fan ever. No, it really doesn't matter to me. I could not give a shit. Everybody can see that Van Dijk is exactly the kind of player that we need in our squad. I personally couldn't give a shit if they wanted 100 million. I mean, how much is that worth to us in terms of increasing our chances of winning trophies, in terms of the league, Champions League, requalification for the Champions League next year? You know, all of these things that actually add up financially for the different stages you get to. He shores that up far more than Clavern, Lovren. Even if you brought Sacco back in, and I'm a fan of Sacco, sounds like he's on his way, but I'm a fan of Sacco. Even if you brought Sacco back in, he wouldn't have the same effect that Van Dijk has. Van Dijk is a leader. Not only is he a captain where he is now, he knows how to lead his team. He knows how to command the defence. And actually, that's one of the things for me that's really been missing. I'd probably argue as far back as since Carragher left, is a real strong leader at the back that tells people what to do, where to go, and almost acts as like a little manager on the pitch. And there's times when you watch our defence and they're lacking that. They're lacking someone to say, this is the time you hold your line. You're lacking someone who's putting their arms out and they're screaming at you to hold the line with them. We're missing that. Instead, you have one player holding the line, doesn't communicate with anybody else. Somebody else slips off. Somebody gets offside, and then they look at each other going, that was your fault. We miss that leader, and that's what Van Dijk is for me. And I'm super excited that he's joining. As I said, a little bit disappointed to see that Sacco's going. There's a whole host of teams in for him. I've heard.
Let's touch on that one actually while you brought it up. We've got West Brom. Is it Leicester?
West Brom, Leicester, and Palace are the ones that are all currently interested. Leicester, I think, we're looking at more like 25 million. We wanted closer to 30, but it sounds like the deal's going to get done for one of those three clubs.
From a footballing perspective, for him, I'd like to see him at Leicester if he was to go to one of those three clubs.
Yeah, you know, I wish him the best. He's one of those players that I wish it had worked out better for him. And I wish him the best when he moves on. I know this will be a little bit controversial because a lot of people don't like this next player, but I felt the same with Balotelli. I would have really liked it to work for Balotelli at Liverpool. It didn't. When he left, it was kind of a best of luck to you. I hope you stop fucking about letting fireworks off in your bathroom and do well on the pitch.
Yeah, that was the disappointing part about him being here. We didn't fucking do anything crazy. So we didn't even get the crazy Balotelli.
We didn't, as you said, we didn't even get that. It was just he was shit and he didn't make any...
And he was normal.
Yeah.
Although he did leave training once to go get the newest iPhone, I believe.
He did, yeah. Dodgy hammer. It was almost like Phil's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan, we'll move on to
the
big news that actually broke today as well. Keita. So it appears Liverpool have said to Leipzig, look, we want Naby Keita. We know you're unwilling to sell this summer, so how about this? We'll pay the release clause for next summer, which I believe was around £48 million. Is that correct? Plus, we'll give you a sweetener of whatever that is. We don't know what that figure is, but
hand job and a packet of crisps.
Yeah, and a can of Monster. But whatever it was,
because it won't be Red Bull.
It was enough to make Leipzig see the light and say, you know what, we'll get the deal done. And it looks like he was in Liverpool today for a medical, if everything is to be believed. And it looks also like that possibly there was a phone call made to Leipzig from FC Barcelona to inquire about his availability.
I've heard about this. This is
And
very.
they were informed. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. The problem about that is he's actually in Liverpool having a medical at the minute.
I
So,
hope this is true.
It would
I
be
really hope
lovely
that's
if it was
true.
true, wouldn't it? It
Yeah.
would be lovely.
Yeah, that's
Massive smug face.
probably a bit far stretched, but like just going back to Keira, I'm absolutely chuffed. What an expert piece of what an excellent football and business shrewd move that FSG are after completing there. I see a lot of people, some people online going, "Oh, we need him now." Yeah, we don't know. Look, of course, in an ideal world, we get him now, but having a deal to sign up one of the best promising centre midfielders in world football at the moment, that every team is looking for, is a serious shrewd piece of business.
Let me ask you this, Jonathan. When we heard that he wasn't signing for Liverpool this summer, what was everybody's immediate reaction when they found out about the release clause? Everybody was saying the same thing.
Munich
It'll
would
be
get
minimal.
Munich,
It'll be a
Munich
minimal.
would get him next season, like they've done to so many. They've done it, what, Götze, Lewandowski, and so on and so forth. They've topped up a huge abundance of talent that way in the German. In fact, that's almost like one of their blueprints, isn't it? To a certain extent. Like if Real or Munich had done a similar deal to that, they would be absolutely lauded from the hills for it. Yes, they would.
No,
I'm getting mixed emotions off the guys here.
no, sorry. I'm just talking to Phil about something completely different. Sorry, go ahead.
Fair enough. You guys have your own private discussion.
We
there.
will.
We'll just keep on talking about the big news of the day, what the listeners want to hear.
Send nudes. It's fine.
Have you got the Zoom to work yet?
Oh.
I
Well,
was
zoom out.
convinced. I was convinced, Jonathan, that exactly what you said was going to happen. That he was going to be a Munich player by
Yes.
next summer, and if we didn't get him this summer, then we were screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
So basically, we've saved. Yes, we don't get him until a season's time, but we've saved ourselves a fortune. By all accounts, I think roughly about. So what we were bidding around the 75-80 million mark. I think it looks like we're going to get like 20 million, pretty much in essence, off Red Bull for a season long loan, because that's really what it is. We've bought the player now, we've loaned it back for a season. It's definitely, we've got the better deal out of it. I know they say everyone's a winner, but they're not really. Red Bull are losing a fortune over this. And it's an excellent piece of business. People don't realise how good of a footballer he is. And what it is as well, which I really like, is for once, we're planning shrewdly.
Why do you think that Leipzig did this? I was thinking about it. I said I don't quite understand, because everybody. I mean, the Bayern Munich thing definitely was an issue, but the first thing that I thought is, if he doesn't come this summer, we're not getting him. Not because he's going to Bayern necessarily, but because there's going to be a bidding war. Everyone's going to know that he's got a release clause. The bidding will start there, and everyone's just going to come in and try and trump each other. And whenever we get into a bidding war, we lose because we just aren't prepared to spend that cash. So where's Leipzig's motivation?
The motivation
Got to be the player, hasn't it?
It's certainly I think the player, but it's also, is it our man Ricky, or what's that dude's name? Their chief executive, head of player recruitment.
Oh, I know who you mean.
That crazy guy I know who's been extra stubborn. He would have got
Ragnick. Is that him?
Ragnick. That's it. He would have got slaughtered if he'd go back to the board. No matter how much money they had, if they turned down 75-80 million, that region of money for a player that they're going to get, they're going to lose next year for 48 million or whatever the amount, a significant less amount of money. Mm-hmm. From a business point of view, if you do that in any other business, you get sacked. If anyone does that, you get sacked. No matter how much money you have, there's no way you can justify that. And I think there was a good chance he would have ended up in Munich as well. So from a football point of view, they would have lost, and from a business point of view, I think he has to go back and justify. He can say, look, I've got this, I've held on, we've got an extra 20 million or something like that, whatever that little sweetener is. I think that's the only way. He's just realised, he was like, oh fuck, I want to save my face here. I think that's the only explanation.
You know what else though? You know what else it does? It lets players know that, look, if you go to Leipzig and you perform and you show that you're good enough and you want that move to the next club, they won't block it. I think that's a really important thing, because that's what Leipzig have to understand, that they are at this moment in time. They are a brand that people go there. They find some really good players, but those players need to see that there's a path through to the bigger clubs if they are good enough. And if they had have held this off and they didn't let him go at all, it wouldn't have looked good on the brand from that sense. Now, I agree from a business point and every other sense, yes, they were stubborn, but players need to know that, yes, look, there is a way we can go there. If we're good enough and prove ourselves, we can go on to bigger clubs. And I think that's a really important stance here as well. Phil, you want to come in?
Yeah, do you know what? I know I bring this up almost every week about us being hypocrites, and we are definitely hypocrites, but can't you apply exactly what you've just said to Phil Coutinho?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. The only thing is, though, the only difference I'd say to this is that this has been going on since June. So they've been aware. Like, Phil Coutinho stuck in a transfer request. Was it the night before the first leg?
It was, yeah. It's not before the first game, yeah.
It's about timings as well, and I think if this had have happened with Phil Coutinho at the start of the summer, we may have seen a different situation.
I would like to congratulate him though. Actually, he's apparently there was some sort of miracle performed on the flight to the Brazil training camp, where suddenly his back injury is miraculously cured up, and he's been given the go ahead to train. That's amazing, Phil.
It was the high attitude that got rid of all the stress.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
The red blood cells increased, and it works its way down. His muscles relaxed, and he must have had great seats on the plane on the way over. Maybe a massage sheet.
Maybe he must have one of Pain Solutions' little portable devices on the plane. That must be the only thing I can think of.
The only sensible way of looking at it, to be fair. He gave Tim a call, and Tim sorted them out.
Because you said Tim was on a long haul flight as well, didn't you, Phil? So that must be it.
Yeah, but
he was sorting Phil Coutinho's imaginary back injury out.
Tim's a tight bastard, though. He'd definitely be sitting in economy.
Oh, he was, but he just sneaked himself through after going to the Jacks, you know.
Dressed up as an air hostess and snuck his way up.
Economy. He stuck himself in a suitcase and he was in holding.
Dan, Cada, love him.
I've been staying quiet on it because I'm eating my words this week, really, aren't I? After making a big show saying that nothing else was going to happen.
I think we were all thinking the same, though. To be fair, there was lots of negativity around transfers. But you were definitely the biggest fucker, the biggest cunt about it. Definitely.
I was the biggest gobshite about the whole thing. Yeah, I've actually seen clips of him play now, so yeah, I'm happy with it. Seriously, I haven't gone out of my way to look at too much, but yeah, I'm happy with it. Twice, Phil. Twice I've said it.
I've known you for the best part of 10 years, and this is the only 2 times in our entire friendship that I've heard you mention the word happy.
How do you feel about the season-long loan going back to Leipzig, though? Do you think that
it doesn't bother me?
Get done?
Yeah, if it gets it done, that's fine. I mean, I think we all saw at the weekend that we're not really short of options in midfield.
It reminds me a little bit of the Neymar deal when he moved to Barcelona, because it was people knew for the best part of 2 years that he was going to Barcelona. And I don't actually remember whether the deal was official in terms of that they'd already paid the cash and he stayed out there for another year. I'm not quite sure, but it was nailed on that he was going to Barcelona for the best part of 12 to 18 months, if not 2 years, before he actually turned up at Barca.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking with Keita as well, with that year's grace, so to speak, does that then open the window for Phil to stay, to come back into the team? I know you're probably against it, Phil, but
do you know what I mean? I was saying to Johnny yesterday, and we were talking, and we said, actually, do we genuinely, I mentioned it on the pod actually yesterday, do we think that Phil actually gets back into that squad? And my answer remains the same, which is Phil is a fantastic player, but if his attitude isn't right, there's no way he should be taking the place of somebody who's fighting, giving 110% for the team and sticking a shift in. Phil has been a little shit. He's handing in transfer requests night before big games. He's not training properly. He's making up injuries. He's suddenly healed. Now he goes back to the Brazil squad. He's showing us a complete lack of respect. And for me, that's what's pissing me off the most. It's not, I'm not suddenly going to say, oh, Phil's not a talented player, because Phil is a fantastic player and he's magical to watch. But his attitude right now from a club that took him from Inter Milan's reserves for $8.5 million and turned him into the world beater that he is, I think he owes us a lot more respect than he's showing us.
I had a similar feeling towards Suarez, but mostly because of the diving and the biting and all the bullshit that he caused.
The racism stuff, yeah. I can relate.
Yeah. We all hate racists.
This is where the hypocrite status comes in, because I gotta say I was a huge hypocrite around that, because I absolutely love Suarez, and 90% of why I love him is because he is a horrible bastard. And that's
who's that snide? You love a good snidey prick, so like he was right up your street, wasn't he?
Oh, to me, he's like, the way when you go into any chipper in Ireland, you see a picture of the Italian football team from maybe the 70s, and you see a picture of the Pope. You might see an Elvis photo thrown in as well in the chipper. Here in Ireland, anyway, lads. Well, in my house, that would be Suarez. I've got a framed Suarez Barcelona shirt, and I can't tell you how much I love that fella. He embodies everything I love about football. His entire attitude on the pitch, he doesn't care if it's 10-0, doesn't care if he's losing, he's just an animal. And I love that about him. So I'm a complete hypocrite.
So basically what Phil really needs to do to get himself back in the squad is to bite someone, call him a racist name, and then all will be forgiven. That's what we're saying.
No, I don't think Phil has it in him, to be honest. Like, how could he have a Mickey Mouse tattoo on your stomach and then go around biting somebody? Like, it just...
He's too small, isn't he? He'd have to bite someone in the shin.
You just imagine somebody just coming around and just patting him on the head if you tried to bite them. Like, oh, it's all right. Good lad.
I reckon we should have done that with his transfer request. Just pat him on the head and go, "You're tired, Phil."
This also leans back into the whole transfer thing and the whole Sacco thing, Phil, because we have to accept as well that talent goes a long way. Talent buys you enough leeway to do things like this, and that's the big difference between Sacco and Coutinho in the situation, is that Klopp knows what Coutinho is capable of. So, it does that talent does buy you a lot of grace with the fans.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And the other argument is, as much as he's been a prick and he needs to sort his attitude out before I'd let him anywhere near that pitch, you can't not sell a player for 150 million and then not play them. Doesn't make any sense. If you're going to play him, keep him. If you're not going to play him, sell him. But don't keep him knocking around. I mean, it's not like Sacco that we're looking for 25, 30 million. We're talking, best part of 125 to 150 million quid. You get what I'm coming from with this. You can't keep the guy and then not play him. He's either in or he's out. There is no middle ground for me.
I think it's lucky that the international break came when it did, because it's bought everybody 2 weeks or so to resolve the situation and see what happens. There might be another twist and turn in this before Thursday. You never know. But everything we're hearing, everything that's been reported coming out of the club, they're saying they're adamant he's going nowhere. But look, none of us know really what's happening. One more thing that came up today, and again, it's been reported everywhere, is that we're after putting in 2, possibly 3 bids for Monaco midfielder Lemar. Lads, I got to be honest, I really don't know that much about the guy. I watch Monaco a lot, but never stood out to me as somebody I'd be watching, really, to be honest. I suppose I was more watching the fullbacks, because last year the fullbacks were just awesome, to be fair. So, Jonathan, what's your take on the Lemar issue? Do you see Monaco budging? Arsenal were interested and they were told no. Seems we're after being told no again. Do you see any hope?
Yeah, this is one that I won't lie. I saw we were linked when I was on the airport on the way home last night, and it's only then. He was a player that I've never really had much of a knowledge about. Started reading up on him then. Looks like he'd be a very useful addition to the squad, but will they sell? I don't know. There's obviously some reason that I think it was at least 2 bids by the reports today. So you imagine if it was a straight no sale, we wouldn't have had a second bid go in straight away. So, and this seems to have come out of, well, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but it seemed to have moved pretty quickly. So there's some signs, whether there's his agent or the player or the club, there's obviously a bit of hope that they can get a deal done, considering. I was reading there, Wenger said a couple of weeks ago that they weren't going to budge, and it looked like he was staying put. So there's obviously something has happened to trigger this. It all seems to be part of kind of a structured move, though. I think they had the plan A was Keita, obviously, for this season. Then when they realised he was gone, they needed to look at another replacement. And I'm not sure if it's a case that this is a replacement for Coutinho, if he does end up moving, or if it's going to be another addition to the squad. Because if we're keeping Coutinho, we have a hell of a lot of centre midfielders, considering that you're probably saying that Coutinho is going to spend most of his time playing in midfield, because it's going to be hard to see past that front 3 when you consider you throw in Sturridge and Big Dom as well into that. So for 3 places in midfield, what have you? 6 players? You have the first choice from yesterday, and then you have Lallana to come back in there as well, Coutinho and Lemar. Now I know he can play on either wing as well, but I don't know.
Were Arsenal looking at him as a wing back, a possible wing back?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, but Arsenal play everyone out of position, so that's not really an indication of where he's going to play.
Looking at their defence yesterday, they buy a couple of left backs and put them all over the shop.
Phil, if I can just swing this around a little bit and put our cynical hat on here. You made a point to me earlier on that this stinks to you a little bit of a PR spin.
A little bit, yeah.
You're a little bit worried about all this stuff happening, and that there's been nothing really concrete as of yet. So can
No.
you explain that theory a little bit?
Yeah, so I got, like everybody else, I got really excited when I saw these links and all these players and all this kind of stuff. And I saw it on Twitter, and then I saw it on Sky Sports, and then suddenly my head, which is not my best friend, just kind of went, do you know what? Something's up here, because actually none of this has been confirmed at all. It all appears, and we've all seen it on Twitter, where somebody says something, within 10 minutes everybody shared it, 15 minutes later Sky have got it on that they've checked with their sources, i.e. they've been on Twitter. So there could be an element here of Emperor's New Clothes a little bit, and you know, God forbid that I'm saying it's cynical and orchestrated, but with everything that's going on with Phil, there was rumours the other day that Barca are preparing one final bid, and actually it's really going to be difficult for Liverpool to turn down, particularly with Coutinho doing what he's doing. There was also rumours that Coutinho was going to be making a bit of a statement once he got to Brazil or wherever the hell they are, to go and cause some issues and force through a transfer. So part of me was thinking, are we being linked with all these players? And this is just the cynical side of me. Are we being linked with all these players so that we can let Phil go? We're not that arsed because we're excited about who's coming in, and then we miss out on the targets, but there's an element of, well, you saw that we tried. You saw everything that was going on. We were trying to get the best players. And we did try for you, but it wasn't our fault. It was circumstances out of our control. Meanwhile, Phil's left while we're paying attention to what's going on over here, and then over here never materialises. I mean, the amount of time, I mean, it's come from much more credible sources today, admittedly, this whole Van Dijk stuff. But I must have been receiving texts for the past 6 weeks telling me it's imminent and it's done. He's still not here. So
he is.
Well, he is. Yeah, he's now. He's actually with us. Virgil, welcome aboard, my son. I've just been actually having a look, and whilst I was on the, it's not quite breaking news, but whilst I was on the Coutinho stuff, I never pictured that this could happen. I thought that him going away could actually cause some problems, particularly if he decided to make this statement while he's away and cause a bit of bother. But there's a news publisher in Brazil who've actually come out and said that Neymar has told Coutinho in a chat between the two of them that he won't regret Liverpool's decision for blocking the move to Barca. And bearing in mind the two of them are very close, so Neymar coming out and saying to him, now is not the time to join Barca, stick with what you've got and let's see where you are next summer. That's not bad advice, and if it's coming from a friend then who's just left Barca, then hopefully that might do something. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, the whole thing's crazy. But the optimist in me really wants to think that we are doing lots and lots of work behind the scenes. We're putting in bids for players. We're confident of getting these players and getting the deals across the line. I mean, we've all seen plenty of transfer rumours of players that we've been interested in, and then we've missed out on them at the last minute, or they've ended up at Spurs, or that happened for a while. Everybody ended up at Spurs. It was everybody we were linked with was going to be at Spurs the week later. But then the pessimist in me is saying, actually, is this genuinely happening, or is this bullshit spin?
Dan, you've heard what we've had to say from the happy side, and you've heard what Phil's had to say from the pessimistic,
racist side.
Yeah, from the racist side.
Not racist.
What's your thoughts on this situation?
I take Phil's point on the whole thing, but I think the amounts being talked about for the two Lemar bids, it's a hell of a lot for a bluff.
Yeah, also true.
65, I think the last bid rejected was best part of 65 million quid.
There's talk of Origi being thrown in as a softener as well.
What's that, like £2-3?
So that makes it.
We've paid him $2.5 million for him to take us.
But I mean, it's great. Again, I don't know too much about the lad, but obviously he's very highly rated, and I just think 65 million's too big for a bluff. And if Phil, if Coutinho does go, then fine. But I'm literally options are open. Just options are open at this point. Anything could happen. For all I know, based on last week, it could get fucking messy. I'm
really excited. Genuinely, I'm really there's a part of me, as I said, that's slightly pessimistic and a little bit nervous, but I'm really, really excited. I'm desperate. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sky Sports News has been on my TV most of the day because I've been waiting for more Liverpool news. I think, like everybody else, I'm going to be pretty much glued to this until, Friday morning once it's all done and dusted, because I want to know what's going on. I want to know who we're going to sign. I just really don't want to feel that anger and disappointment of being lied to again and being treated like we're stupid. We've done this, we tried, it didn't work. I mean, the other one is, how close are we now to the end of the transfer window? This is all happening very last minute. Now, if we had this money and we had this resolve and we could have got these players and these players are available, why the hell didn't we do this 4 or 5 weeks ago? Why are we doing this with 3 days to go?
That's a subject that was raised by one of our listeners. Paul Tabry asked that same question. And Dan, you want to come in and give an answer?
Yeah, because now we've confirmed Champions League football.
Yeah, there you go.
The pull of the Champions League is massive. If that's the kicker, if that's the catalyst that gets these deals over the line, then that would explain it. That's all I'm saying. That's the only reason I can think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, like from both points, from the attraction to the draw of the players to our financial stability as well. Yeah, that just answers that in a nutshell.
There seems to be a lot of transfers happening right at the end, though, outside of Liverpool as well. There just seems to be a flurry of activity.
It's been that type of market and that type of window.
It's ridiculous. I can't get my head around this half the time. Why it's left so late?
There's always the domino effect of the transfers, and you can only look at what we briefly spoke about earlier, the whole Zacco to West Brom, which is really Zacco to West Brom, Evans to Man City. You can maybe even throw Van Dijk into that mix as well. But like one just leads to another. Like look at the Neymar deal that triggered the whole Coutinho hoo-ha and Dembele, etc. So yeah, that's just the way people are holding back on their cards. It's just that type of window. And now a lot of clubs are not panicking, but they're starting to push their bets out and go a bit more crazy. Which from the media points of view, like Sky Sports News, etc., and all that are going to have a field day the next couple of weeks. Like God help when we have Jim White on and his yellow tie.
I can see him at home now. He's got about 50 ties in front of him, just walking up and down, going,
50 shades of yellow. Was it?
It's not going to be you. It might be you. I've got one last thing I wanted to cover regarding transfers, and it's not really a transfer per se, but it's one subject I wanted to bring up before we push on to tomorrow's game. Emre Can. We've seen what he's capable of. He's really started to perform again. The guy is awesome. But there's still nothing coming about a transfer.
Where's his deal?
Juventus is not going away. That little murmuring about Juventus. And you know what? I can fucking nearly see him in that jersey. I can see why Juventus would want him so much. He's exactly the type of signing that they'd usually go after. I'm really worried. Dan, where are you on this one?
He was quality yesterday in the game. As I've said before, he's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde player, but we saw the very best of Emre Can yesterday. He was absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest, I'd completely forgotten that he's in his last year of his contract now?
Yeah, he's inside his last year now, yeah.
If he leaves, it's criminal that we've let him go. Absolutely criminal. But at the same time, like you said, I haven't seen a rumour for him to Juventus in a week?
Possibly, yeah, no, possibly.
But then again, is it the domino effect? Is that we're waiting for someone else to come in? Because I think I'd seen something about us going in for Renato Sanchez as well.
Yeah, apparently that's a loan deal.
Yeah, that was a loan, I was going to say. I think Bayern Munich have no intention of selling him yet. They just want him to get some game time, I think.
Would that possibly be a filler for Keita?
Yeah, I was thinking he's the same thing.
Maybe, yeah. I'd like to keep Emre. He's still, what is he, 23? So
I think, yeah, 22, 23. Sounds about right.
22, 23. He's still young. You could get 10 years out of him. And if he carries on being more, Jekyll than Hyde, then we've got an absolute Liverpool legend on our hands. But like I said, I keep going back to it with this transfer window and the market the way it is. If the right amount of money comes in for a player in the final year of his contract, like Arsenal with Sanchez and Ozil, you have to cash in at some point.
It's always a possibility. Jonathan, what worries me the most about the whole Emre Can situation is I genuinely believe that it's about playing time with him and that it's about his place in the squad and his place in the first 11.
Yeah, because you look at it from the player's point of view, like the announcement of Keita has to turn his ears because not going to spend a heap of money on that player to be sat on the bench.
Do we see him? Do we see him when Keita arrives? Would you see him in that starting three?
That's a tough question. because Keita is probably going to be the box to box. He's probably going to play the role that Can is in at the moment. It depends really. I believe Can has always said that his favourite position is, say, the quarterback role, the deepest of the midfield players. I personally think he's more effective when he's just driving forward. I think the way he plays at the moment, he takes too many touches to be that lowest, the deepest midfielder, because I like my deepest midfielder there, that quarterback role, to start pinging balls very, very quickly. And for all the things Can is good at, he is sometimes a bit more sluggish with the ball. If he develops his game and edges back into that role, I would say probably yes. But if he's competing for one of the attacking two midfielder players, assuming we stay with three in midfield, he could probably struggle. As good as he played yesterday, he could probably struggle to get regular game time.
Phil, where do you see him on this? Do you see him now? I must say, this season is one thing, but in my head, next season Coutinho isn't here, regardless.
Yes.
So when Keita comes in, we're looking at Keita in midfield, then the possibilities of Lallana, Henderson, Can,
Gini.
Yeah, we don't know what Grujic is going to do over the next year. Milner, to be fair, I can't see being in the mix.
No.
So Phil, what's your thoughts on the Emre Can situation?
The only way Can gets in the squad for me, with Keita in the starting 11 as well, is to drop our captain, which feels a bit weird. And could that be quite a negative for the formation with the two of them? I get what John was saying about him drifting forward, but he does prefer that deep lying role. I'm really mixed on Emre, if I'm honest. He no denying he had an absolutely cracking game yesterday. He frustrates the life out of me sometimes, and he's not learning as quick as I would like him to learn. He continues to make a lot of the same mistakes, and that pisses me off. I mean, I'd rather you made a mistake every week, but it was a new mistake, provided you were learning from it. But he doesn't seem to do that. He continues to make the same mistakes repeatedly. So do you know what? I'm going to be a bit of a chicken shit with this, and I'm going to say, well, whatever Klopp decides is best, then I'll go with that. If Klopp can convince the player to stay at the right money, and the player's happy to be there, then sign the contract extension. If he's going to be an arsehole, then let him go. Because ultimately, this has got to come down to, yes, it comes down to playing time, but it's got to come down to money as well. And for me, you've got to be really careful with player wages, because it's not just a case of Emre could be a world beater, so just give him 150 grand a week or whatever it be. You know, this is a case of, well, what does that do to everybody else? What does that do to the players who, let's say there are 5 or 6 players at the squad who are better than Emre Can? If he's on 150 grand a week, what do you have to pay them? Because they're looking at their agents going, listen, I'm more important to this team than he is, and he's on 150 grand. Why aren't you doing your job? So you're not paying an additional 40 grand a week or 50 grand a week or whatever it be. You've then got that for another 5 or 6 players as well. And it just drives everybody's prices right up. During the period that you're negotiating these transfers, you've got the players having a bit of a wobble, feeling that they're not as valued to the squad as other people because they're not earning as much. And they all read the papers. They know what's going on. They know who's earning what. If Naby Keith had signed this year, for example, then we'd have stuck him on, let's say a ridiculous number, we'd have stuck him on 200 grand a week, for example. Coutinho, probably Lallana, Can, Sadio, probably not Mo because he's only just arrived, and Bobby. If I was their agent, I'd all be going back to the club saying, so you're forking out 200 grand a week now, are you? Time we renegotiate these contracts. So you have to be super, super careful. So this isn't just about just paying what it takes to get the deal done with him and telling him what he wants to hear. This has got to be about attitude. And he either wants to be here or he doesn't. I talk about attitude a lot recently, but you either want to be here or you don't. And if you don't, then just leave. Just go.
Dan, Phil touched on something there, and I want to just bring it back to you, and that was the Henderson-Can debate. Now, if I'm Jurgen Klopp and I'm looking at these two footballers, I've got to say to myself, one of these lads is slightly injury prone, has missed a lot of games. We kind of don't know how his foot is going to go long term. And the other guy is hit and miss, as you've said. He's had some good times and some bad times. He's learning all the time. He's younger, he's fitter, and probably has a higher ceiling. So if I'm being pessimistic and being stone cold about this, there's every opportunity that the manager could look at Emre Can and think that he is his future in midfield.
Yep. Quite possibly. That is an absolute bastard of a question, because you've got because it will come into play. And I know you said you're being completely cold and clinical about it, but it will come into play that he's your captain. But if you're being completely cold and clinical, personally, I'd rather play the more consistent performer. Like if it's a choice, Phil's shaking his head. If it's a direct choice between the two, at the moment, I'm playing it safe and taking consistency over sporadic world-class quality.
I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of Jordan Henderson, don't get me wrong. Henderson, a fully fit Henderson functioning really well, to me is perfect in that quarterback role sitting in our midfield. Really like Henderson, but I have serious worries. Like, I brought this up a few times, but somebody showed me a stat before that he'd missed more games than Sturridge over the last 18 months.
Really?
Which is crazy to me. He's not been the same since he came back either. That's the thing. He hasn't been the same player. I think a lot of people are reluctant to discuss this because it's our captain and we want him to do well. He's had a couple of moments, particularly against Hoffenheim, where he was looking pretty decent. Had a decent game yesterday, but he hasn't quite reached the heights that he did before the injury. He doesn't look himself yet. And you can say two things about that. The first thing you can say is he's not long back. So could be match sharpness, a little bit with the brain as well, because let's be honest, the whole point of pre-season isn't just to get you physically fit, it's to get you mentally fit and sharp as well. And Henderson has been out for a long time. And you've definitely got to lose some of that sharpness just spending time in the gym, particularly he didn't kick a ball for a while. The other side of that is how many players can you name? I mean, don't actually do it because we'd be here all night, but how many players can you name who have had an injury of some sort and never came back the same player?
Michael Owen.
You know, I said don't name them, but but you know, Cisse is a great example. Eduardo's another example. You know, there are so many players who never came back to full potential after, or never reached their full potential and came back to what they were after an injury. And part of me, the longer this goes on, the more I watch Hendo, and I'm thinking, is this a sharpness thing? Is he gonna get back to his heights, or is this Hendo now? Is this what we've got?
You know what? I can't disagree. Like, this is a subject we could talk about all day, and we could go one way or the other, and there's arguments to be said for both players. But I just wanted to touch on it before I moved on. And lads, I want to finish up tonight with what was an absolutely beautiful day yesterday to be a Liverpool supporter. Jonathan, yourself and Phil were lucky enough to be at the game, along with Aaron, Asif, Matt, I think, was there as well. There was a fair few of the ARW crew at the game. Talk us through it. What was your initial reactions to the way we started, Jonathan? The way the team came out of the blocks, team selection. Just talk me through your day and how you felt as it unfolded.
Yeah, it was an honour to be able there, an absolute pleasure to watch such a magnificent performance. It was a great day meeting up with all the lads. We had a lot of fun outside in our odd replica jerseys and our slim physiques. Had a great laugh. I was stood in the Kop. Atmosphere was absolutely, from the first whistle, was banging. It didn't stop the whole way through. It was helped by our press up start. We started off 100 miles an hour. We were in their faces. Just rolling back to the team selection, the big one really was the fullbacks and Karius. We spoke about it yesterday. Looks like there's something weird going on there with Mengele's talk of bids and his head not being right. But either way, it was a strange decision to change a goalie just before such a big game. That being said, we could have pulled one of us and throw us in goal for all our keeper had to do yesterday. A couple of little scares aside.
I don't think we can just gloss over them, though. To be fair, they were fucking
just little scares that he caused himself.
He was just a little bored. That was all.
Arsenal's best chances for score a goal yesterday were caused entirely by carriers.
Do you know what
just
happened? You've seen Steve Mandanda over the weekend pulling some fucking absolute beauties out, and he thought, well, look, could have been worse. We seen what happened at Rangers. Or for Rangers, sorry, the other day. That was ridiculous, by the way. Sorry, Jonathan.
Look, it's an aspect of his game that he has to improve on, and he did towards the end of the game. He did. I think he realised his errors. It's one of these. He's probably tried too hard because he knows what the area that he has to impress Klopp is if he's going to win it over Mingele is by his ball playing ability. So he's probably taken unnecessary risk, probably too eager to please. That's something I'm confident that he will gloss out with just game experience. You couldn't fault him any ball that went into the box. Now that being said, there wasn't that many, but any ball that was within the box, he dealt with. He punched away firmly. He didn't cause any jitters in the centre halves. Barring those three, yes, there was three scary ones, all right, but barring that, he was comfortable with the ball. He played a lot of short kickouts, rolled balls out to the centre halves, out to Hendro quite a lot, which did add a lot to our game. Fullbacks I thought were amazing. Gomez, and I have to put a word out for Moreno because I thought he was done a couple of times, but he's had a complete renaissance, and he showed aspects to his game there that yesterday. That I didn't think he had it in him. Look, we all know he's great going forward. He's blistering pace, but defensively he was solid. His position was solid. He read the game a couple of times. Got a huge roar off the cup there one stage in the second half where the ball comes over the top. He steps out of his left back into midfield and wins a header. I think it was against Giroud. And we go in attack. He flew into tackles, not widely, but clean tackles. I think he won 5 out of 6 tackles or something like that. He offered a lot of options going forward to Mane. He was really, like, when you see Moreno getting clapped by all four corners of Anfield, you know things have slightly changed. Gomez was brilliant as well. Considering he's played out of position, I thought he had a solid performance. He looked good going forward. A great little ball to Bobby for the first goal with his weaker left foot, crossed it in. Bar one or two little kind of testers, he was solid. Our 2 centre halves, Lovren didn't have much to do, but Anthony did. He won it well. He kind of took the no-nonsense approach. Mapic was brilliant. I thought you couldn't have asked any better for him. He read the game excellently. He was aggressive in the tackle. He dribbled forward. He brought a good
aggressive tackle.
We do indeed. He was solid coming forward. He dribbled, drove his forward a lot of time. He looked very comfortable at his feet. He dropped in and out with Henderson and Can at times to drove up the pitch. I thought they were defensively, we were very, very, very solid. Midfield, I thought were exceptional. I thought Henderson had a very good game. And it wasn't just sitting deep as we kind of touched on yesterday. He was aggressive high up the pitch. He probably should have scored at least once. He had a good few opportunities. Can, we discussed as well, I thought was absolutely boss. He was up and down the pitch. He drove forward. What summed it up for me was there was one amazing tackle he did. Can't remember which player was on the right wing was coming forward with the ball, and he came from behind and just timed it perfectly, tackle to win the ball back. Greeted by huge cheers all around the place. Gini was probably his best performance for the club. Put Ramsey, I don't know how many times on his arse on that move, and drove forward, was aggressive. Never seen too many shimmies on all my life, but had a very good game. And what can you say about the front three? Just sensational. Mane, out of this world. Probably man of the match in my mind. Now that was a difficult decision to make, but was just so sharp, just so shrewd. So full of life, so full of flicks and skills. The team looked so arrogant. Bobby was amazing. Like anyone that says we need an out-and-out striker, just watch. Or Bobby's not a top-class striker. Just watch his performance yesterday. His hold-up play, his movement was exceptional. And Salah, the same way, summed up by his goal. I just watched it back there again. Actually, so aggressive to win the header in his own half, and then just pretty much dribble half the length of the field and stick it in. He was amazing. That front three looked like they've played together for years and years, and. There wasn't really one thing that you could say that we didn't like from our performance yesterday. It was just amazing. Amazing day out. The atmosphere was amazing. Thoroughly dominant team against one of the big boys. And like, I'll sum it up. If we'd won that game 6 or 7-0, it wouldn't have flattered us.
No.
I finished now.
Phil, you were also at the game. I don't know if there's something left for you to talk about, but go on,
no,
have a go.
Okay, no.
You went to Five Guys, I believe.
Went a burger after the game. That's all that he's fucking left.
What did you have in your burger?
I had a double cheeseburger and I had Cajun chips, and they were very nice.
And you insulted a couple of Chinese people, but go on, we won't talk about it.
People, yeah, fucking hell. Do you know what? I I think the only thing left to talk about is the away fans. I was directly above the away fans, and I said yesterday I was really disappointed with the Arsenal fans. I was hoping for a bit more of a fight. They were just like a travelling cliche. They turned up, sung about Tottenham, yelled at the manager, and moaned for players that weren't on the pitch to come on the pitch. Giroud being the one that comes to mind. And then when he came on the pitch, they ignored him. So other than that, they were great. I think it did make me laugh when they started chanting, "Where is our manager?" and "We're fucking shit." That did give me a bit of a tickle. And then somebody at one point shouted to them that Spurs were winning, which I thought was really good.
Well, at least they had some relief when they left the stadium. They found out Spurs conceded 92nd minute equaliser by Chris Wood.
Yeah, Chris Wood, congratulations on his it's his debut goal, wasn't it? It's his first game, is it not?
Think so,
yeah. It was his league debut, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, not absolutely chuffed for him.
I've been terrorised him when he came on, to be fair.
Yeah, I've been hoping for him to make this step up. I've been watching him for a couple of years now, and I'm really impressed. So I think he could be an interesting signing for them. But no, listen, I mean, yesterday was amazing, and the crowd were on point as well. The fans, there were still some that were around me that don't sing. I never quite understand that. Why go to Anfield and then not make a noise and sing? I've never quite understood.
Freaks me out, I have to say.
It's like, why are you going to be quiet? I mean, even if you don't know the words, just clap and make a noise. That's what most people do. Especially when you've had a few drinks and they all just blur into one song.
Oh, Genie Manny.
Oh, Genie Manny, can he play?
Liverpool.
But the fans were on point yesterday. I was impressed by that every time, and I said this on the pod yesterday, and I really, really hope it came across. It definitely did when I watched it back on Match of the Day. Actually, every time the Arsenal fans started singing, we just drowned them out from all four sides. It was great. It was really, really good. And I asked this question actually when I was at the Hoffenheim game, and again, I don't think you can really say definitively one way or the other. Do the players perform well because the crowd's on point, or are the crowd on point because the players are playing well? I think there's probably an element of both. I think they started off well. The fans reacted well to that. And then I think the fan support carried them to the next level because they kept up the level of intensity as long as the fans were keeping up their level of intensity and their level of passion. And I was really, really impressed yesterday. I think
shows you how much Jonathan went through there, because he's answering his own questions now, Phil. He's asking questions and answering them as well, just to keep the clock ticking over. Good man.
There's fuck all else left to say.
Sorry about that. Once I started rambling, I was just so happy after that performance.
I don't blame you. It was amazing.
Yeah.
He's actually written a book or series of
It's called 3 minutes 49 seconds into my life.
Boom, boom.
Dan, there's a couple of things left to talk about, I think, here, buddy, and we'll try and find something. But what did you make of the game? You weren't at it, neither was I, so we got to watch it on the TV. And secondly, do you think Liverpool aren't getting the credit from some sections of the media that they deserve? Because yes, Arsenal were atrocious, but Liverpool absolutely put them to the sword.
We did indeed. I mean, I was actually scrabbling for something to talk about there after
It's all right. I got your back, buddy. It's all right.
Yeah. I actually, a mate of mine who was actually an Arsenal fan sent me it's a map of the sort of the average position and the average setup throughout the game. We held 4-3-3 pretty well, pretty much spot on. Arsenal ended up with Monreal, Koscielny holding as a back three, Xhaka just in front of them, absolutely nobody else around the centre circle, and Bellerin and Chamberlain almost forming like an arrowhead from the halfway line onwards. So they're playing as wing backs. Got Sanchez and Ozil, and then Ramsey and Welbeck, and it just looks an absolute mess. I'll forward it on to you in a tick. But
Ramsey was nuts yesterday. What the hell? I mean, he was. Do you know what it reminded me of? This is genuinely what Aaron Ramsey reminded me of yesterday. You remember when, like, I think it was like FIFA 15 or FIFA 14. You're starting to get used to the whole playing online stuff, and it used to lag. And then so you're like 3 seconds behind everybody else, and you're trying to like preempt the tackle because you don't actually know when the ball's getting there because you're a few seconds behind. That was almost Aaron Ramsey played with lag yesterday. He spent the whole game 3 seconds behind everybody else. He has no idea what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't matter how bad Arsenal were. They're still Arsenal. The players on the pitch are still quality.
And they're great players, yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time Arsenal failed to register a shot on target?
October 2014 against
3
Chelsea.
years ago against Chelsea.
Was that it? Because I went back through today. I got back to about January 2016 before I got bored.
You got counted. I just Googled it.
Hangover excuse again.
You're just watching Arsenal games for the past 3 years going, come on.
No, I fell asleep, to be honest.
What's the
It was like being at the Emirates.
Did you see before the goal, Firmino's goal? I think it was Ramsey and somebody else were walking towards the Arsenal bench, and they weren't even looking in the direction of play when we were taking or when we were putting the cross in. It was ridiculous.
Was it Ox? I think it was Ox.
I think you're right. I think it might have. It was him or Ozil, but I think you're right. I think it was Chamberlain.
But they're playing two players who don't even want to be there in Ox and Sanchez.
At least two players that don't want to be there.
And they're leaving Lacazette on the bench.
What is that about?
What was that about?
I have no idea. That doesn't even make sense.
And then they put him on and they stick him out the left wing. It's like, oh God, what are you doing here? He ended up chasing like Manny back, and it was like, oh.
He did that to Jonathan when we were at that 3-1 game at the end of last season as well. He stuck Sanchez on the bench from the start and brought him on second half after we were ahead.
It's almost like Arsene Wenger was pissed off at the Arsenal fans for all the shit they'd been giving him. So he signed a contract extension just to stay and fuck with them for the next couple of years.
I spoke to an Arsenal fan on the flight home there last night. He was severely depressed. Honest to God, he was like, I wasn't taking the piss, I was just talking about him. It's like I nearly felt bad for them because they've had so many of these nearly really good. But he was like, I wish we never fucking won the cup last season now because we would have got rid of him.
That's what kept him. That saved his job. There's no two ways about it. That saved his job.
And it was mad. And then the other interesting conversation I had was with a Roma fan. And
where the fuck did you find one of them?
Where the fuck were you flying?
One of the air hosts. Is that what I call them?
Trolley dollies.
Trolley dollies. Yeah, being a male. Is a Roma fan, a Roma season ticket holder. He goes to all their games, and he's absolutely gutted that Salah had to go. Really still rated very highly there.
It sounds like the start of a really shit joke. There was a Liverpool fan, an Arsenal fan, and a Roma fan on a plane.
I seen some stat yesterday now. Jesus Christ, I could well get the numbers on this wrong, but I believe it was something along the lines of that goal that Salah scored against Juventus last year for Roma was in and around 30-something kilometres an hour, 36 maybe kilometres an hour at speed. And the goal he scored yesterday for us on the break was 34, something along those lines.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like it was either 6 or 9. I'm pretty sure it was like 6. There was something like there's only a handful of seconds between when they had their corner and us scoring the goal at the other end of the pitch, and it was some phenomenal.
I think it was
13.
It was 12 seconds.
Yeah, it was 12 or 13. That's what I thought as well. Jonathan,
I think it sounds like your sex life, guys. But
it doesn't go that long.
Can I just say one thing? I had to listen to all the stats last season. Belleron being the X amount of a time doing 100 meters. Can't remember what it was.
Another hippie that needs a haircut.
Yeah, definitely. He can't even justify it by good performances. But all the stats was going around how he's faster than sprinters and all this. Salah absolutely burned him for the third goal.
Yeah.
So that's the whole stats are a load of crap, which probably isn't true.
So did Mane.
Doesn't give a bollocks.
If you notice Mane's movement for that goal, for Salah's goal, he legs it, he overtakes them, and then he actually starts to slow down and slows down the two defenders. Yeah, brilliant.
But not only Salah got past him, Mane gets past him as well.
I don't think they were actually going to get to Salah anyway. But what Mane did was give him a much easier shot because he was doing it without the pressure of a defender breathing down his neck.
True,
and it just, he gave him an option as well, to be fair, to swear it if he wanted.
He was brilliant.
Absolutely. And it summed up Mane's performance for me, really. It just shows that it's that bit of drive and that bit of almost arrogance in a way, that sheer determination that's spread all over the team. And that's all down to Klopp. Yesterday was a typical Klopp performance. I think if Klopp could write a perfect performance, he would have.
He was certainly happy after the game, wasn't he?
Yeah. like everything. You could just watch it. It was just a pleasure being able to watch the second half there. Just the angles and the point of pressure and the way we pressed all over the field was just an absolute joy to watch.
You sound like you're talking about football porn. I'm expecting like the M&S food advert voice any minute.
Yeah, well, that was as close to football porn as you can get, really, wasn't it?
Is that what I was going to ask if that's why you got ejected.
I don't believe that Salah got enough credit for the bravery he showed either, sticking his head in there to make that break, because he could have easily got a boot in the face, and there's many players who would have pulled out. That was something I just wanted to bring up, because every time I look at it, I just think, you know what, fair play to him. He really was willing to take one in the face there.
And just watching it back there again, just look how pissed off Sanchez was when the camera goes to him. He's there on his hands and knees, and like, what the fuck am I left with?
I remember there was somebody like put a picture up of that with him hiding in his top, and some smart ass on Twitter, I don't know who it was, but some smart ass put like a meme caption on it, and it says, "The moment you realise you could have signed for this squad, but your wife wanted to move to London for shopping."
I love that.
Good enough for him, Phil. Good enough for him. He had his chance to join the Mighty Reds.
Yeah, fuck him.
So anything else we want to talk about, lads, before we wrap it up? Any other subjects we want to bring up?
What do we think about... I hate international break. I'm glad that international break is here for the fact that we get a little bit of respite from all the crazy shit that's going on with Phil and everybody else. But I'm one of these people who watches the international games and wants to just wrap all of our players up in bubble wrap, and whenever they come off the pitch as a substitute, there's a massive sigh of relief when they're okay. Because as good as our performance was yesterday, and with the players we're being linked with, etc., nobody's actually signed yet out of these people that we're being linked with. Nobody is done across the line and available for the next game. And our squad is still a bit thin, in my opinion. We still need those players. So international duty, 2 or 3 players pick up knocks, suddenly it's a different ball game altogether. And we've only got a few days to sort it out.
I have a feeling Coutinho might regain his back strain.
I'll give him one.
Do you know what?
Yeah, I'll gladly give him a back strain.
You've actually brought something to my mind, and I just want to raise this before we leave. Moreno, where do we stand on him, lads? What do we foresee is going to happen? Because he's been sensational going forward in the last couple of games. Absolutely, got to give it to him. He's been absolutely sensational, but he has still been suspect at times with that ball over his head and getting caught slightly out of position. And look, we're not going to be hard on him. We understand that. With the way he breaks forward, there is going to be occasions where he is going to be caught out of position if there's a turnover of play. But to me, he just doesn't seem to be able to learn. And that worries me.
Up until yesterday, I would agree strongly with you. But I saw little things off the ball. I saw him taking instructions from players. Chan was roaring, Henderson was a Roman directing him around. It was pretty obvious from being there. He showed, and just that, it's a small thing, but the second half there, I kind of glossed over it earlier, where the ball breaks in the middle and he's on the left wing and he comes straight across and wins the header. He doesn't do that a couple of weeks ago. He's obviously worked very hard at his game, and he's obviously taken on voice a lot of the coaching. He showed a lot yesterday to me, that he's learned an awful lot, which he hadn't showed for 2 years. I thought he was done. I thought you could never... Last season, I thought he was done completely when Milner played so many times. But something's happened. He's regained Klopp's trust as well. And that can only do his confidence the world of good. I'm not going to say he's going to be the finished article, but maybe with Robinson there as well, it might just give him the kick up the arse that he needs. And he's got a taste of it now. Had to do is to hear him getting applauded all around Anfield yesterday. That had to do his confidence good. He had to be going home pretty on his hoverboard there, pretty cool with himself. So, look, if he doesn't do it now, he never will. But I kind of hold fire on the judgment for another little while yet. He deserves another chance on his performances so far.
Phil,
in my mind.
Yeah, do you know what? I think he'll do better with Van Dijk there. John has just alluded to the fact that he was responding quite well to instruction from people yesterday, and he's actually listening to them. If you've got a boss at the back who is actually commanding what's going on there, I think you will see a little bit better from Moreno. I also think he'll probably lose a little bit of his attacking edge, if I'm honest, because as a defender commanding the back, one of the things that I'd want him to do is make a lot less runs. Sure, make clever runs and get forward, but not as often as you are. For me, I don't think he's a starter. I think he'll be a great squad player. I also think he should come on and give us additional support when needed at the back, either in his left back position. But I also think, given that he runs and given that he likes to get forward, if you've got Robertson at left back and you want to take off Mane, for example, with 20 minutes to go and give him a rest because we're either seeing a game out or Mane's just knackered and we're worried we're going to get him injured if we keep making him run. Why not stick Alberto further upfield? He likes to run. He likes to put crosses in. I think him and Robertson could actually do a really good job interchanging in those positions anyway. I think that could be an interesting one. Again, he's not going to displace anybody in that position either, but I think he'd do a decent job as a sub, which is what we were saying Daniel Sturridge will do for Bobby yesterday on the podcast as well, because Sturridge doesn't seem capable of doing a full 90 minutes anymore either, but as a squad player coming on for the last 20, 25 minutes of a game, he'll do a bloody good job.
Dan, you've heard what the two lads have had to say, and one more point just to add to this before you answer is it's been interesting to see that Klopp hasn't once utilised Milner at left back this season yet. So he clearly must see Moreno and Robertson being the two left backs that he's going to use.
Yeah, I mean, I think Klopp said before the season that Moreno's back and that's like having another signing, which frees up Milner in midfield.
Who asked him that question?
Some
almighty.
cocky Irish fucker who
Go on,
won't
I'm
give
very
his time at 83 minutes and 47 or 49 seconds. Title of Jonathan's autobiography. Available in all pound shops.
For free
to a good home.
Purchase of a chocolate bar. Moreno, I'm still not convinced. It was a good performance yesterday. It's probably his best in a Liverpool shirt. If he can keep it up, then great. But before yesterday, I'd have happily shipped him out and brought somebody else in. I think I said that last week. But credit to the guy, if he's got Klopp's trust, he must be doing something right. Because as we've seen with Saka, once the trust is gone, you've not got a shout at all. So I'm going to sit on the fence here and just say, watch this space. But if it were me, I'd have Andy Robertson starting. And as Phil say, use him as a squad player.
I think that's a fair assessment, lads. You know what? There's nothing wrong with having him as a squad player either, because it's going to be a long season before competitions, and everyone's not going to play every game. So
when you have an entire team, and Chelsea have experienced it a few times, as well as United actually, and City for that matter, when you have an entire squad of players that have all been promised starting 11 and think that they should be starting 11, it causes problems with attitudes. Again, talking about attitudes again, but it causes an issue. If you're on the bench and you feel that you should actually be starting, you've got international pressures, you've got sponsorships pressures. You know, it's you do need a squad, and a proper squad of, you know, that you are going to come on for the last 20 minutes of a game, but you are unlikely to start it. You, on the other hand, will do 60 minutes of a game, run yourself ragged, and I'll take you off when you get knackered. People need to know their place. And speaking of knowing their place, I read this earlier, so I've got to say it because I think Liverpool should definitely take credit for this. It's definitely nothing to do with us, by the way. I just like the fact that we can take credit for it. Alexis Sanchez has handed in a transfer request at Arsenal today, which I am putting entirely down to the fact that his arsehole is still sore after yesterday.
I'm with that.
That's the perfect way to end the show, lads. I'm going to leave it just there with a bit of bad news for another club for a change. Look, we could have went on, we could have talked for hours and hours and hours. The lads will be back on Thursday with ARW Weekly. Thanks again to our sponsors, armourtalent.com and painsolutionslim.co.uk. If any of you out there are going to be around Soccer X in Manchester this weekend, please go and check out Pain Solutions. Go and check out the cryotherapy. Go and talk to Tim. He's a lovely lad. As always, massive thanks to Daniel, or to Dan, apologies Dan. To Dan,
I don't mind either way.
And to Jono for joining me this week. And the minion that we still haven't filled back. Huge thanks to you guys for listening. It's been an amazing day. Hopefully before Thursday it just gets better and better. We appreciate you all listening. Thanks a million. Take care. Good luck and bye-bye.